I think we should be going. Let me just double check just in case. That's always so fun. And I didn't already. It is. It's you. It's you and me. Sometimes it appears so quickly that I'm thinking I'm looking at a replay from before, and I'm like, it is you. Okay, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today. It is one of my greatest pleasures is to be able to tell stories of help others tell their stories too, but to be able to highlight somebody that's really extraordinary. And when I think of that word, you always come to the front of my mind.
Debbie, thank you. What a compliment. So grateful to be here. Thank you for having me here. So excited to be part of this.
Yeah. So inside of this new group that we've initiated, it's all about extraordinary women making extraordinary moves. And sometimes those women don't even know they're extraordinary. Sometimes they haven't actually, sat back and went, you're right. And so these stories of hope and possibility are for both the people that haven't recognized themselves in that story and the ones that are really looking for mentorship and direction to step into that extraordinary. So, Nicole, as we do this, I would love for you just to have an opportunity to share where you're coming in from because we have people from all over the world and that's so
Sure.
exciting. And then a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you again for being so amazing, extraordinary yourself. I am so grateful to be part of this and part of this group. And I am Nicole Cowley, and I'm coming in from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It is chilly here right now. I will tell you, I let my dog out to go pee, and I was very glad I'm not a dog today because it is cold, I will tell you. But I am a women's empowerment coach, and I primarily work with single mamas, and I help them really, moms that are so ready to let go of their limitations, their beliefs, their fear, their doubts, and really step into that deep soul calling that they know that they are meant for more. And I love helping them actually put that out in the world and actually be it. And so it's a mission in my heart. I am a single mom myself, and I know what it feels like to, live a life that doesn't honor who you truly believe you are in your heart. And so it is my absolute mission in this world is to help as many single moms want to rise, that want to live into everything they were meant to do here to do it. So
Mm.
that is me. I have a background in personal training, health coaching, life coaching, and hypnotherapy, and then all my life experiences combined with that to really help people feel so good again. So that is me, and I'm a mom, a single mom to two beautiful children. My son who is 13, and my daughter who is 17.
Wow. And your children are just like you, just so heart-centered and just beautiful. And you shared a photo the other day, and I'm like, holy cats, they're growing again. It is just, I love witnessing that. So Nicole and I met through a group that we were in together, and we were flying to Sedona to do a retreat, and Nicole and I were in the same airport together. So we got to know each other really well and have been fast friends ever since. I am definitely a cheerleader of what Nicole does and who she serves and how she has such a beautiful passion and heart to serve. But Nicole, I want to back up a little because through this extraordinary story of yours, you had to make some extraordinary decisions and take some extraordinary action. So can you take us back to that time that maybe things shifted for you? And I don't know which shift you want to start with, but let's go back.
Sure. Yeah. You know, over 9 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom with my two little ones. They were about 3 and almost 7 at the time. And, from the outside, it looked like everything was great. We had a beautiful home, great friends, it looked like I had a marriage that was wonderful, all of those kind of things. And, you know, I I kind of was just living the life that a lot of people want to live, and you know, having the children, doing all the things. Um, but behind all four walls, everything in our world was crumbling. And you know, at the time, I was hoping that everything was going to work out and that we were going to be fine and everything was going to be okay. And it absolutely was not going to be okay. And so those 9 years ago, I remember the moment so deeply of like being literally on my knees praying for my life to be okay and for us to be able to stay together and for my kids to be okay as well. And I remember the moment so distinctly that I knew it was not going to happen. And you know, because I had stayed at home with them, I did not have an income coming in. You know, I had just kind of trusted everything to go out, and I take full responsibility for that. That was something that I chose to do. But then never thought this was going to be what I was going to be looking at as being a sole parent and also having to create an income for us after being at home for 8 years.
Mm. I think that all of us can relate, whether we have ever had that type of problem in our marriage or relationship or not, but at a pivotal point where what you thought you were building wasn't it, and it wasn't going to happen. And that's devastating. And then having two little ones that are so dependent on you at that stage, it had to have felt like it was a crushing amount of weight.
Oh, so much, so much. I remember, you know, those little eyes just looking at me saying, you know, Mom, what's next? Mom, like, how are we going to do this? And I will say for sure, I had no idea what I was going to do. um you know, when you're put against a wall and you have to figure things out, you really you really start your mind starts to go in so many different places, and sometimes it's not very good. And I just remember thinking, I have to save us, I have to save us. And you know, I give so much credit to a lot of the single moms out there, parents period, single parents out there, when things happen, because you're emotionally going through it yourself. So you're trying to get through what has happened in your life, but you're also the emotional support for your children.
Yeah.
And to be able to do both at the same time is not an easy feat, because you know you're suffering, and when you're suffering, it's really hard to help others that are also suffering, and they deserve it. Like my children, I always think they were the most innocent people in this whole transaction that went down, and they had no choice in it at all. And it was all of a sudden, how do I make sure that their life is going to be really good and mine? Both.
Mm.
How do I do both?
Well, Nicole, let's take us to the other side. What did happen from that pivotal
Yeah.
point?
Yeah, so from there, you know, I had been a dancer my whole life, and so I had some really beautiful friends. And one of my friends, who was a chiropractor, had decided to join a direct marketing company. And at the time, so this was 9 years ago, and at the time, there wasn't a lot of talk about direct marketing at the time. And so I saw her talking about doing a skincare line and selling it online. I'm like, what are you doing? You're a chiropractor. Like, why are you doing this? And she messaged me back and she said, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful job for you, because you can still be home with your kids, which is what I wanted so badly. I prayed for that all the time. What can I still, like, can I still be home with them so I don't have to change their whole life? And then also help people and make an income. So she got me all set up. And I remember that whole group that I got involved with, because it was all these amazing women that were doing this. They literally pulled me off the floor and said, let's go. And I was in a place of like, I don't know if I can do this. And they're like, yes, you can. And so I was so grateful for them. They were the most amazing group of women. And, you know, I was lucky enough that they showed me how to build teams, how to, you know, reach out to people again. I remember I got a ton of no's, but I got a lot of yeses, and they were standing right behind me. And so that was a community of women that came in and basically would not let me stay on the ground. They were like, let's go. But I had another community within my sphere at the time, which was all our neighborhood women. And I love to tell this story because it's like one of the ones that's like so dear to my heart. And I remember because when since I'd been a stay-at-home mom, I was so used to being with the kids all the time. And it was the first night the kids were not going to be with me. They were at their dad's house for the first night. And our house was so quiet. It was so quiet. It was like there was you like no one was like no wrappers were being opened and no one was fighting and no and it might be a dream for a lot of moms right there to have that silence, right? But not that kind of silence. And I remember it was just so dark. And I was sitting in the home, my home, and my doorbell rang, and one of the moms from the neighborhood asked if she could come in, and she had this beautiful little gift with her, and she said, the neighborhood women have something for you. And so she said, would you open it up? And I started to go through the bag, and there was all these messages of like, you can do this, you've got this, we love you, we know you're going through these things that are not easy right now. And so I remember just like tears flowing down my face. And then there was one more present, and it was wrapped so beautifully. Like I remember the box, it was white with a white bow and everything. And I started to open it up, and the women had all pitched in to buy me my first iPad to start my business, because I literally didn't have anything to start my business with. And they're like, you're going to need something. And so I just remember like it was the most beautiful, beautiful moment. It was a moment of where I had to, realize that you're surrounded by incredible people that are so loving to you. And at the same time, I was at the probably my saddest point, like realizing that I was starting over. It was like two things happening at the same time. But thank goodness for amazing communities of women in my life, because I definitely would not be where I am today. So that was the start. That was the start of like me getting going again. And I was so lucky to build a beautiful team, and I had the direct marketing company was sending me on like luxurious trips, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to go away and get all these presents. And then what happened during that time was I started to dream again. And I think about this all the time. You just get a little bit of confidence, somebody to believe in you, and then you start to dream again. And I started to think about, what do I really want to do? Not that I didn't love what I was doing, but I was like, what do I want to do? And because I was working with all these women selling skincare to them, we'd have deep conversations that had nothing to do with skincare most of the time. We'd just talk about life. And I realized how many people wanted more in their life. They wanted to feel healthier. They wanted to feel stronger. They wanted to have better relationships. They wanted just to do so much more. So I was like, wow, I have always wanted to help people on a really deep level. And I thought, oh, I've been a dancer my whole life. I can get them moving. So I took all my money that I got from my direct marketing company. I put myself back into school to be a personal trainer, because I was like, I can get them moving. I can do that. And so I remember, honestly, I remember this is like so crazy. I remember going to these personal training seminars and classes, and I was for sure one of the oldest people there. And I remember them saying, you have to remember all your anatomy and you have to write these exams again. I'm like, I have to write exams. So, anyways, it was all great. And so I went through the whole thing. I remember even the day I was going to write my final exam, everything in me was shaking. Everything was like, I was shaking, because to write exams again at 43, 44, I was like, oh gosh, this is not what I thought I was going to be doing. But anyways, it all went well, thank goodness. And I started to become a personal trainer. And so I started helping women, really start to feel better. I actually did it for free for a year because I wanted to learn it, and I wanted to be really good at it. And like I often say, I don't highly suggest what I did, but I did it. And I loved it. In the mornings, lots of times I'd be taking my bags. I went to people's homes. So I would take all my weights, I'd take my mats, and I would leave at 5:30 or 6 in the morning and go to their homes and work out with them. And that's what I did for a long time. And I loved it, but it eventually got really hard on my body, and hard with having two young children at home. It was really hard to be able to do the whole thing. So then I started to think, well, what else can I do to also help people? And so I took all that money from there, and I became a health coach. And then I decided to become a life coach. And I started to put out programs that were more all encompassing. And people were starting to get even longer results, because I was like, they were great when I would work out with them, but then they were like, I fell off the wagon again. And I was like, what? And they're like, yes, because if you're not there, I'm not doing it. And so I'm like, I've got to find ways to help people without me being there all the time, so that they just want to do it. It just becomes part of who they are. And I'm like, how do you do that? And so that's when I went and got those other certifications. Things started to turn around. People were starting to get longer results, but there was still something missing, because it still wasn't long term enough. And so during that time, I was also transitioning. My business wasn't doing exactly what I wanted to do. I'm like, how come I can't rise as much as I would love to rise? And then I was like, how can they have longer transformation? I want long-term transformation. I want to feel this. And so I started to read a book, and it was by Shad Helmstetter, and I believe it's How You Talk to Yourself, something along that line. And I should know it off the top of my head because it was such a pivotal book for me. But I started to realize that transformation comes from what we believe or who we believe we are and our conversations that we have with ourselves. Because we're really our own best coach. We are really our own best teacher, our own best support, all of that. And so I started to read this and it was fascinating. And I was like, I need to learn more about the mind. And one of my children at the time was having a little bit of a health scare at the time, too. And I really needed to know how I could help them even at a deeper level, too. So I went back and I decided to get my certification in hypnotherapy. And I actually ended up getting two designations in it, which took me about a year and a half. But it changed everything because now that I understood how we think and what creates our actions and our behaviors, I now knew how to change it. I now knew how to help people have long-term transformation and so that they could really, really step into who they want to be and be it, not just talk about it, not just be like, I'm just going to talk about what I want to be and do all those things. I'm going to actually be who I want to be. And it wasn't, and I had never learned this stuff before. I remember when I started thinking about hypnotherapy, I only knew what was on stages and I thought it was like kind of a little crazy. I'm like, these people are acting like chickens and they're doing
What is the point of this?
like I didn't really understand. So I didn't understand that it was like actually working with the mind, like deep work with the mind. And so the hypnotherapy I was learning was transformational hypnotherapy, where you could actually change your internal stories to be
Oof.
ones of incredible power. And most of the time, what I'm doing is unhypnotizing people from the stories that they've had from the time they were really young of what is possible for them. And when you learn this, not only do you get to be the person you want to be, you also get to have so much more compassion for people in your life because you start to understand their stories and why they act
Mm,
a certain way, and that you can step back from it not being about you and an attack to
mm,
yourself. It's more about like, oh, I get it. I
right.
get it. So that is what I do now. I help women, rise through all these modalities, but also through life experience, just give them the ability to really, really go after their life so that at the end they can say, I did it. I did it.
Wow. Wow. So much life experience, and thank you for being vulnerable and taking us on that journey. But there is also lived experience from the good. You had once told me that your family had a
Mm.
family business, and so you got to
Mhm.
witness firsthand what it felt like to run a retail business and really support families through
Mm.
helping them have income. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's it's one of my greatest gifts that I received in my life was being born into a family of entrepreneurs who my dad was and my grandfather were great entrepreneurs. And we had a chain of children's wear stores that I grew up with. And we actually had it in our city for over 60 years. And I was from a very young age, like helping put the price tags on clothing, go to buying. I was buying at 14, and that was so exciting. Like my dad would take me to these beautiful manufacturing places and I'd get to go pick out things and all of that. But what I really learned, like watching it all happen, was about how important people, customers, clients are in your life. And that was something that was so important. I watched my dad, like we used to, our clients were not just clients, they became family to us in many, many ways. And we would, we were delivering parcels to their homes at nighttime. We were gift wrapping. We were taking the parcels to their car. We were, providing, we had a games room in our store so that the kids could watch movies, so the moms could actually shop. I mean, my dad would be throwing footballs with the kids in the stores. I mean, the ladies, our staff were always like, like mannequins were flying, things were happening. But I learned from him how to have fun in business. I learned from him how to treat people, how to show up. That, I remember he would say to me, some days, I'd come into work and I may have had a breakup with a boyfriend or things that weren't so great, and I just wasn't feeling my ultimate self. And he'd be like, Nicole, you just have to keep smiling. You don't know who's walking through the door, and let's make it about them. Let's make it about them today, and you will feel so much better. Like you will. When you serve them, you will feel so much better. Take it out of you and give to them. And so I continued to learn that it was all about the people. And I'm so proud of my dad. I'm so proud of my dad's no longer here. But I am so proud of what my dad and my grandfather created, and I was just so lucky to be a small part of it. Before we ended up closing, you know, um, I was I was there at the end. I was the vice president of operations at the time, and I was just so grateful for that, those lessons too, which helped me build what I've built today.
Yeah. Yeah, every time you tell stories about your dad, I wish that I would have met him, and yet I do
Ah,
feel like I have through you. And what a beautiful soul, to instill in you what customer service and caring about not only his staff, but his customers and his clients that much, and the people he bought from. It was a complete family that you were introduced to at a very young age because he trusted them, and that's a big thing, right? But I also see that you have so much of that in you, your compassion to feel other people's journeys and help them through to the other side. And so when I feel like I take all of this together, the business skill set and the compassion and the heart and the avid learner and the caring so much, like you said, you kept going back to school over and over again because you needed to get the best results for your people. To me, that is the extraordinary move that an extraordinary leader takes. That you're never satisfied, not from a place of lack, not from a place of like, I'm not good enough, but there is a better out there. There's more, and I want to do that. So, Nicole, again, I can't tell you enough how much it's just beautiful to witness you care for your clients so deeply.
oh, I thank you so much for that reflection to me. That means the world to me, because I will tell you, that not only did I learn a lot of that through my dad, but I will say, as a single mom, one of the scariest things in the whole world is to invest in yourself. You have a lot of guilt that you feel. You have a lot of there's some guilt, some shame, and a lot of fear. And whether it's going to be right, or like, when you're making these investments, you're just praying for everything, because you're thinking not just of you, you're thinking of your children, you're thinking of your future, you're thinking of so much more. And so what I always feel in my heart when I'm making a program, or when I'm putting something out there, or even just in my social media, I'm always thinking about who's on the other end, and what could I help them, like from my heart, give them everything I got, because I really believe that, you know, the integrity and honesty in a relationship, in coaching or anything, is one of the most important relationships you can have.
Mhm.
And I just always want to honor that trust bond when somebody says yes to you, that you are going to be there and that you're going to help them at the most you can. Now, I will always say that the other person has that responsibility. And I will always say that for me too, at any program I've ever joined, it's my responsibility to show up and do what I need to do. But from my end of what I can give, it is the ultimate responsibility in my heart is to give you everything I have, everything.
Mhm. I love that passion. So, Nicole, there is people in this group that may not recognize that they're extraordinary, or they're looking at, you or other stories and going, look at her, like, look at all she's done in this life. Like, things I've done is like way down here.
Mhm.
What can you say to those people?
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. This is like one of my favorite things to talk about, because I think people are being extraordinary every single day, every single day. The women I meet, um, every single one has a story. Every single person has a story. And when they share them with me, I'm always like, I love, just like you do, because you're so good at this. You reflect back to people their greatness. You always do that. You're just like, it's just such a beautiful gift of yours. But I really think that lots of times we don't celebrate all the like the getting up every day, the doing the things that we have, going to the meetings, making the lunches, going to the PTA meetings, making sure like through the night you're working, you're like your kids have been sick all night and you're still moving the next day. I mean, there's so many things that are extraordinary, right? Like that take a lot of strength. And we don't always recognize it unless it's like huge. I think it's a message that we need to change because it's always about this huge thing. And what is huge? Huge to one person is not huge to everyone, right? They're all different. And I think I even learned that with Bob Proctor was really big is that it's all relevant. It's all relative, sorry. It's all relative to where you are in your life. And so I just want to think about every single person who is making this world better in any way every single day, whether it's like you're smile at the person at the coffee shop and you're like, you are so kind to them and you make them feel like they are the best barista that there ever is, or or the person that you're just so like, or you call your friend that day and you say, I just want to tell you, when I saw you, you looked amazing, or your idea about this was so great. Those are extraordinary moves. Those are what make this world, I think, so much better. And so I don't think it has to be huge feats. I think it just has to be being your most authentic, beautiful, kind self to others. And that to me is extraordinary.
Oof, I couldn't have said it better. I love that. And you are so good at that. Nicole, you always listen to people and really reflect back to them what they've done and what you heard and even the things they hadn't recognized. And I love that you talk about, your workouts and stuff, but I remember when we were in Sedona and we did the dance party. To me, you always bring fun and movement and celebration into your being. Being around you is like this beautiful light that I don't know if anybody could be miserable in your presence. Maybe some people can, I don't know, but it's not easy because you just bring the light and it's just so beautiful. And so when I think about those that you serve, I'm like, wowzers. If I was a single mom, I would want you on my side to help me recognize that just by getting up today, that I can celebrate that as a win. Just for making my kids lunches instead of staying in bed and not doing it today, which is fine if you don't. We're not judging. But everything is a win. And eventually you get to that strength where all of a sudden you're telling your story inside of a Be Extraordinary network because you've got it. You finally got it. But it isn't an easy road to get here. And we want to celebrate people all of the way through.
All of the way through, all the way through, because life is a journey. It is a journey. And, you like right now, I'm smiling on here, but I've had many moments of tears, right? Many moments of on my knee moments and many moments of frustration and not always being my best self, for sure. For sure. You can ask my kids. They could tell you for sure. But what I think always, I had somebody say this to me once, and I thought this was so important, is it's not going back on all the things you didn't do well and looking and dwelling on them. And because I think many times you're doing the best you can at where you're at. So you're doing the best you can at where you're at. And then once you know better, continue to try to do better.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that really helped me because I had a lot of stories I didn't do enough. It wasn't enough. You know, I could
Just
have done
double
different
check
things.
just in
But
case.
that is something that I now look at differently than I did back then.
Yeah. I mean, we can beat ourselves up. There isn't anybody that's perfect. And even really, really, really bad mistakes that, somebody isn't proud of. It's not that that's important. It's who are you becoming today? How are you actually taking those things that you learned through this whole journey and just really choosing to be that, like you said earlier, that kind and thoughtful and considerate person. that to me is an aligned source. Like when we're angry or fearful or jealous or whatever, that's not us at our best. And when we can really be the best version of ourselves, then it's going to come outwards as well. So, Nicole, you have a lot of different modalities and you have a lot of different life's experiences for you to be able to really be compassionate and help guide people through some of the stuff. But what would what is something that you really support people through today? Like, what are some of your offers, or how do you help your people
Yeah.
today?
Yeah. So, well, I have a workshop coming up right away, reclaiming you. So it's for single moms. So any single moms out there that are ready to step into their confidence and take their power back, I have 3 proven steps that we're going to go through, and I'm really excited about that. I also have a really exciting program coming up in January that I'm really excited about, and it's going to be. I don't even know. I know the name, I know all the things, I know what it is. And it's going to be an academy for moms, single moms. So I am like really excited for the women that are ready to really see who they are, to not settle in their life anymore, and to be able to really thrive. This is going to be so much fun. And so that's starting in January. But I also have, like, even if you just want to be getting your body moving again and doing those things, I have morning workouts that you can join me at 6:30 in the morning. They're just 30 minutes. I made them that way for people like me that don't have a lot of time, but really need to have that sense of health and strength. And so I have those, and I have more workshops coming up all the time. So these are all different ways, and you can just reach out to me. I have one of the things I love to do is my next best chapter call. So you can just have 30 minutes with me, and that is complimentary. It's 100% complimentary. And it just allows you to start to have a new path, a new way of like looking at your life just from that call alone. And together we sit and we start to make a little plan for you. And that is something I love to do, because that's when I get to know you and your heart and where it is you want to go. And so that I can at least give you some tips right that day to start moving. So those are
Wow.
all the different ways.
Wow, that is perfect. So, is there anything that you would like to leave people with today? And that can be a call to action, that can be a kick in the butt, that can be an inspiring message, whatever you would love. I'd just love to give you this last middle moment.
Yeah, okay, I love this. So for me is take a chance on you. Invest in you. Take a chance on you. You never know until you make that investment in yourself how powerful you really are. You have no idea until you say yes. And when you say yes to the right person, to the right people, the right community, when you say yes, your world starts to open up and you start to be supported. You start to see things differently. You start to have the confidence to do the things you want to do. So my challenge to you is to say yes to something that's been on your heart, and you've been wanting to, like, you even dream about it at night. It's like one of those things like, I wish I could. And instead of I wish I could, I'd love you just to say, yes, I can. And then
Mm.
watch what starts to happen.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nicole, for coming here and sharing your extraordinary story with us and helping us understand what it takes to take those extraordinary moves that are going to move you towards the life that you absolutely love and adore. Thanks again.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for letting me be part of this extraordinary network. I'm so excited for all that is to come, and for all the people in here to continually be there to support each other and rise. It's very exciting. So thank you, Debbie, for your heart and who you are, because we wouldn't be being able to do all this without you. So thank you.
Thank you for seeing me, Nicole.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.